Alright, so we're going to continue ranking the games that I've played on this channel, and that we're going into 2022 now. So 2022 is all the games, like, again, these games are uploaded by year and alphabetical within the year. Everything between 13 Sentinels, everything between 13 Sentinels and 999 was 2022. So almost the first two rows here. And I'm going to leave everything in the tier list from 2021 so that we can actually compare everything relative to each other. So let's continue. Where should we start? We did a lot. 2022, things started to pick up. I was streaming all the games. I debuted in March, and originally it was supposed to be one game per month as well. And for the most part, that's what I did. So it really was like I didn't have a stream schedule. Instead, I would, like January, the game of the month is 13 Sentinels, and we're gonna play it. And when I finish it, I'm just not gonna stream anymore until February. And then February has come around. We're gonna stream, what was it? Pokemon Legends Arceus, because it just came out. Arceus. And then when I finished that, I just stopped streaming until March. And then we picked up Rune Factory. And then, so my goal was still one game per month for the most part. And so, but we started increasing. Like, I think I played, somewhere around 23 games in 2022 on stream. So a little bit more than just one game per month, because there were a couple games we slipped in, or some games only took us half a month. So I was starting to hit my stride as a streamer, but I wasn't really quite there yet. So where should we start with 2022? I also put Final Fantasy XIV here, because I did do a couple Final Fantasy XIV streams. Now, for those you don't know, Final Fantasy XIV is an MMORPG. Really fun, but I haven't done a full playthrough of this story-wise on my channel. I kind of want to one day, but it's really long, because it's right now we're at 4 expansions worth of stuff. I think it'd be fun to do in the future. So for now, because I did do a couple streams of this, and I do have a couple of videos of FF14 on my channel, I put it on the list, on the tier list anyways. I think in the future, if I do a story playthrough of Final Fantasy XIV, I'll tier list each expansion separately. I think would make the most sense, because I do have different feelings about each expansion. But for now, I'm considering it all as just one game. This one's pretty easy. It's just a fantastic game. It has an amazing story. Well, you got to get past the introductory. You could get past the introductory stuff with this game, then the story gets really good. But at the beginning, it is a little slow, because they need to fix the 1.0 stuff. So that I understand, but there's so much to do in this game. You can create your own character, you meet friends. Even if you don't really like MMORPGs, I know some people, they're like, oh, I don't want to play MMO because it's intimidating for me. There's so much stuff you can do in this game just solo. Even nowadays, you can go through the dungeons solo now too for the story. You're not even obligated to play with other people anymore for those. So I've played this game so much that I'm not completely on break from it. I used to play this game religiously. Every day I would log in and do stuff. But, I've been playing this game for so long that I've pretty much caught up in almost everything. So whenever a new patch comes out, I'll do new stuff, and then I'll go on a little bit of a break. Maybe log in once a week to do weeklies. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that I love it. It's still a really good game. Yeah, I was thinking maybe I could do it with Umineko, do it a once a week thing. But I don't know. I'm thinking of maybe doing more talking streams in the future once a week. Or when we do Persona, it might be a once a week type of thing. So I can't juggle too many things once a week, otherwise we just won't have time. So we'll see. In the future, that might be a thing. And I think a lot of you guys have played Final Fantasy XIV too. A lot of my viewership has played this game as well. But, for some people that just never gave it a try or want to know the story of it, but never played the game, one day, it's an online service game, right? One day it's going to go away. That's going to be a very long time away from now, considering the FF11 is still, being supported. But, one day this will all disappear, and I want to archive it before it disappears. You know what I mean? But that's a long ways away. But it's a great game. If it was mostly also because of the story getting better. If it still had a mediocre story, I would not feel as strongly about it, but like they do such a good job with the story. Oh, let's do the party games. So I did a Fall Guys stream actually. It was my first collaboration. I did it with Kite Hasagawa, who is an awesome guy, and he's actually re-debuting soon. But I never posted the VOD, but I put it here anyways because it was fun. Fall Guys is one of those games that, everyone can get into easily. You just go in, and even if you lose, it's still fun. You can still, observe people. But it is kind of those things that I think that you like you play it enough, you get used to the stages. It's not really as fun anymore. And like the game still has like updates and stuff, but it's mostly just cosmetic stuff, right? Like it's not like too much new gameplay stuff. So for now, I'm gonna put this in the party tier because it is like a party game more or less. It's just not as much like local party, but I think it needs to go in its own tier. While we're in the party tier, let's do these other party games. Goose Goose Duck, which again I haven't posted VODs for this, but we played it on Nari's channel a couple times. Big like 20-player lobbies of just friends. It's a lot of fun. It's basically a better version of Among Us. And I like Among Us, but I'm not super great at Among Us because I don't play it that much. Like, when you play Among Us, people are like, they memorize like every single task and how long it takes and where it is. And like, so it's very easy to pick out the people that don't know what they're doing if they're imposters. This game doesn't have as much of that because there's just so much in the game. And I don't think I know very many people that like are experts at this game. The maps are huge. There's a lot of tasks. The imposters get a lot of tools. And it also has built-in features that a lot of Among Us games have to be modded in. Like proximity voice chat needs to be modded into Among Us. It's in this game already. Roles for characters, like both roles for imposters and regular people or crewmates, this game has those built in. So you can customize a lot. It's basically just a better Among Us. PlateUp. I like PlateUp. I'm gonna put it here. You guys see me play PlateUp with Lily. There's a lot of customization you could do here. It's fun. You could do it with like 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. I think it's more fun than Fall Guys because you have that intimacy instead of just being in the lobby with a bunch of other people that don't really talk. Is it better than Goose Goose Duck? I think it really depends. I think playing Goose Goose Duck, I can keep playing this forever and I won't get bored. But like PlateUp, sometimes playing it for a long time gets draining on the mind because it does take a bit of brain power to keep up with it. But it is fun, and it's nice that it has like chat integration so that people can enter your restaurant and kind of participate. So I think that's really neat. So I'm gonna put this here. Hey Hikaru, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Welcome, welcome. Are there any other party games from that year, 2022? Okay. Let's do, Rune Factory. Rune Factory 5. I really want to put it down here in C tier. I'll explain why. So Rune Factory, if you don't know what it is, it's like Harvest Moon, which is now called like Story of Seasons. I keep forgetting what they call it now. Story of Seasons. Farming sim game like Stardew Valley, and relaxing, nothing really competitive. Rune Factory is basically if you take Harvest Moon and you add combat to it. So now there's dungeons, and now there's monsters in addition to your farming. Like the original Rune Factory games came out back in like the late 2000s, and they were for like Nintendo DS, and they were fun, but they were kind of rudimentary. You could kind of tell that they just kind of slapped some of these mechanics on top of it and let it go. So I was a little bit forgiving of it back then. Very nostalgic though. And then after Rune Factory 4, there was a very long time where we didn't have any Rune Factory games. And then suddenly they announced Rune Factory 5, and it had been like over 10 years since like Rune Factory first began. Now I know the people that made this game, even though it's still Rune Factory, I think for the studio that made this, it wasn't the same studio. So you could almost think of it as being like an entirely new group of people making it. But I was a bit disappointed because they never really improved upon the formula from the first game over 10 years ago. It was almost exactly the same. you would think that in 10 years there'd be a little bit more improvement. And there was also some BS things, like some enemies would just instantly kill you unless you ate like a specific type of food that prevented instant death. And you wouldn't know that. You would go into the final dungeon, you'd get like halfway through, and then enemy would just like one shot you, and you'd be like, but why? I didn't know that I was supposed to eat this one specific food before going in there. I don't even have the recipe for that one specific food. It is nice that your stamina isn't limited in this game. In the early Rune Factory games, you were very limited by the amount of stamina you had every day. In this game, you could basically continually get back your stamina if you played your cards right. Nice selection for the characters that you could marry, but honestly, the story was very lackluster. I think the story was even more lackluster than the first Rune Factory game. It is nice that the English localization lets you have same-sex marriage, which is a very nice touch, and it is not present in the original Japanese version of the game. So the localization team did go the extra mile to program that in and write it, which I think is really cool. But on top of that, they didn't really improve on anything. So I think the reason why I have to put it down here in C tier is I was just disappointed by it. A lot of the games that are going to go down in C tier are just games that disappointed me. They're games that did not live up to what I thought they would be, or they had the potential to be somewhere, and they didn't make it there. So, like, if you like Harvest Moon, maybe this is like a B tier game, but like as just a person trying to go back into it, thinking that maybe I'd relive the Rune Factory experience and see some improvement, it did not improve upon the formula. So I think it goes down here. Hey Valkyria, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by, and thank you so much for 10 months of subbing. I really, really appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank you for your ongoing support. Okay, so I'm gonna stick with Rune Factory down here. If I'm feeling generous, I might bump it up. I'm trying to think of how I want to go about rating some of these. Some of these games are kind of interesting to rate. Like, for example, like Umineko. Let's talk about Umineko. Oh, thanks for calling Kirby, Hikaru. Oh, Rune Factory 5 was the game that you found me through, Valkyria? That was quite a while ago. I'm glad you stuck around. Now, so Umineko is interesting because, like, I almost want to put it down here in special tier, because it is kind of its own thing. It's not really a game. It's a visual novel, but there's no gameplay. There's no choice making, which I think really makes it unique among the things here. Now, the thing is with Umineko is that the story is really good. Like, the story is really good. The music is really good. But I think the biggest thing with this is that when I read it back in the day, the first time, on my own, no voice acting, you can click through it like a book, right? Like, you can skim read it, right? If some pieces of exposition here were getting kind of long, you could just, zone out and click. You know when you're reading a book and you get to like the boring part of the book, but you still want to read the book, you might like skim a couple pages ahead, or like you might be reading not as carefully. You have the luxury of doing that when you're reading this on your own. But when I was streaming it and I was reading everything out loud, like, I had to go through everything, and it really dawned on me like how many sections of this visual novel are very long, and there's a lot of like exposition-y parts, and they're not bad. You need them to understand the story, but it does kind of get drawn out. It's like, man, you guys have been talking about your inheritance for the last 2 hours. Can we move on from this? I want the murder mysteries to start happening, and that doesn't happen, right? So reading it out loud has changed my perspective of it. I think that some of the pacing could be adjusted, but all in all, it's an amazing story. But it's hard to justify putting it too high because it's not a game. You know what I mean? And it's not for everyone either. Like, you kind of have to get past some of the exposition before it gets really interesting and involved. Like, once you get attached to the characters, it's riveting. But you kind of got to get past that hurdle. So, like, I think in my heart, Umineko is an S tier set of games. But like, for a general audience, like, I think it might be lower. But like, the story was just so good, but a little bit too verbose in some areas. Also, the translation's a little weird because it's a bit too direct. But that's because it was originally a fan translation, so I can't really fault. Yeah, it kind of makes for a great audiobook. Oh, my stream still says I'm playing BlazBlue. Let me fix that. I'm pretty sure I changed it, but Twitch has been being weird. Pretty sure I changed it to just chatting. Well, yeah, it does say BlazBlue, but I changed it. Okay. I think it should be chatting again. Let me refresh. Did it? Okay, it changed to just chatting, but it still says I'm playing story mode. Okay, I'm gonna try to change the stream title and see. Thank you, Kieran. Okay, well, if it doesn't change, then whatever. So, I don't know. I feel like, for me, Umineko is up here. But, you know what's my tier list? Actually, no, you know what? You know what? I think this is what I'm gonna do. I think, like, Umineko... Well, actually, no. If I put it down here, that makes it look like it's better than Spider-Man. But here, it's a little bit less obvious. I was gonna say, maybe I should put questions arc down here, and then put answers arc up here. Because I do like the answers arc a lot better. But I feel like it's wrong to split them like that. So you know what? I'm gonna put up here for now. Again, we might move things around later. Hey, Zysky, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by today. Alright, let's keep going. What will be the next easy one? Actually, let's rate I the Somnium Files 2, since I already have I the Somnium Files 1. Now, I the Somnium Files 2 is kind of interesting because I like the characters in I the Somnium Files 2 more than I like the characters in I the Somnium Files 1. I think the cast is better. There are more characters that I liked. However, I think the overall plot of I the Somnium Files 2 was not as good as the overall plot of I the Somnium Files 1. It just didn't feel as succinct. I wasn't as satisfied with the conclusion. But I liked the characters more. So that leaves me the question, does that make it better? Or does that make it worse? Honestly, I think... Like, I think there's a lot of intrigue to I the Somnium Files 2, but the payout just wasn't as good. Well, this one had like a mild level of intrigue, but the payout was actually pretty good. I think as a package, honestly, like I said, how I found a lot of characters in this one a little annoying because there are too many pervy characters. This game didn't have as much of that. And I don't know if it's just because it was written later and they realized that maybe they shouldn't be doing as many of those jokes. So it's kind of hard to say. I'm a very character-driven person, and if there's characters I don't care about, like, I didn't really care about a lot of the characters in the first one. I think I'm going to go here. I think the puzzles in the second one, again, I call them puzzles loosely, but they're not really puzzles. But the puzzles in this one at least made a little bit more sense than the ones here. So I think I have to put this one above this one. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, I actually have not played very many Pokemon games past, like, X and Y, I think. So I haven't played Scarlet Violet either. It was kind of neat seeing Arceus try new things with, like, the overworld, going around seeing Pokemon in the overworld. Storyline-wise, it was a bit of a weird... Like, it wasn't bad, but it was kind of weird, especially since it happens in the past. And it kind of just ends. Also, you can't... The variety of Pokemon you can catch was not super big, but I know they were kind of trying something new. It was fun. It was a fun game. I don't think I would drop it to a C tier. I think it's still in the B. I just don't know if it's a B or a B minus. But also, like, some of they didn't really have like proper boss fights, and also the difficulty spiked up really quickly at the end. Like, you'd be perfectly on level, and then suddenly, like, the AI just got really good at, like, somehow they would just always know what your weaknesses were at any given point in time, which I wasn't really used to seeing AIs do that. But I don't think it's because they were actually. I don't think it's because they were actually detecting my weaknesses. I just had a party that just was very weak to a lot of the the teams that I was going up against. I think for now I'm gonna put it here in the B tier. I think it's they were trying to break new ground, and I respect that. My problem with the Pokemon games is that, like, I mean, Pokemon is, it's been going on forever. But I wish that they would innovate a little bit more on the story stuff. Like, they're always adding new gameplay stuff. Like, here you have, like, Gigantamax Pokemon. You have, like, special, I don't know, like, Mega Evolution Pokemon and whatnot. Like, or they have, like, oh, we have a Alolan variety, this Pokemon. But I wish they would actually do more to innovate, like, the actual structure. And I know they kind of did that. I know with Scarlet Violet, I think you can go around to all the gyms in any order, but then the gyms are they still have set levels, so you're kind of still forced to go through some of them. Again, I haven't played Scarlet Violet, so I don't know. That's what I heard. But I kind of wish that they had something a little bit more than just, you pick a starter, then you go fight all the gym leaders, and you fight the Elite Four, and there's a villainous team. I wish they kind of break the mold a little bit. I wish they weren't afraid to try new things. Like, Pokemon Coliseum tried a bunch of new things, and I actually really respect it. Even though it wasn't an amazing, amazing game, it was still pretty fun. So I appreciate them trying to try new things with Arceus. So I think for now, I'm going to put it there. Yeah, characters can carry a bland story, but if characters annoy me, then I definitely won't like a game as much. I think that's very fair. Yeah, I'm going to keep I the Somnium Files 2 in front of I the Somnium Files 1. Okay, I think this is looking okay so far. I don't see any spots where I feel like I disagree just yet, or like have discontent. I'm on Observation Duty 5. If you don't know what this is, it's like a horror game, but it's like you flip through a bunch of screens of like video cameras, and then once in a while something weird would pop up, and you had to detect the anomalies and fix them. And it could be as weird, it could be as minor as like an object slightly moved on screen, or it could be something major like there's a monster on the screen right now. And so it was fun, but I almost feel like it's kind of its own thing. Also, it's very mentally exhausting. You're basically playing a big game of Spot the Difference, but you're on like a timer, and also like you could die. Yeah, I played this one with Euro. I feel like it's kind of its own special tier. I feel like it's on its own special tier. I might change my mind on that one later though. It's a very unique experience. Also, the other drawback with this game is if you play it too much, you get used to all the anomalies, and then nothing surprises you anymore. They actually just released I'm on Observation Duty 6. Maybe we'll go back into it sometime. Okay. 13 Sentinels was the game I played at the beginning of 2022. And I picked that game because it was my 13th month of making videos as well. So I was like, 13 month, 13 Sentinels. And this game actually really impressed me. It actually really impressed me. I don't think the gameplay was really that good, but the story really blew me away. And I wasn't expecting that. Most games with really good stories, I already kind of know about them, or I've played them before. So it's really hard for me to find a game and be really wowed by a story. And to see like someone write a story like this with such intricacies and like mind-blowing things happening that was outside of like Zero Escape, outside of Umineko, even like Danganronpa maybe, Great Ace Attorney, was a nice surprise. And the art style is beautiful. The gameplay itself was not super enticing, but I understand that they needed some type of gameplay, and it was kind of an interesting type of gameplay. So I think it's definitely like up here. It definitely kept me enthralled. I think I'm gonna put it above Animal Crossing just because that story really impressed me. But just strictly gameplay wise, it wasn't. I think the gameplay's solid. And it does have replayability, but it's not something I'd go back and be like, oh yeah, remember the gameplay from 13 Sentinels? That was amazing. It was like, no, like the story. I think I feel comfortable keeping it there. Mm. Untitled Goose Game. This game's fun. I think it's super clever. I think it's like it's funny. There's a lot of memes. It's a short experience. It doesn't outlive its welcome. But also like the puzzles in it are kind of fun, despite the very simplistic premise and the simplistic controls. Someone described it to me like it's almost like you're playing a game of Hitman, the Hitman games where you have to kill someone and assassinate them, but you get a little bit of leeway in being creative, and there's also some sneakiness involved. Untitled Goose Game has that. It's such a short game, and it doesn't have like that much replayability. But I think it's really fun, and it's made by a small group, so like I gotta give them respect. Where does it go though? I'm not sure. I don't want to put too much stuff down here in the special tier. I feel like the special tier is a little bit of a cop out. I don't know. But like if I put A tier, like I don't think it goes above any of these. It wouldn't feel right to put it above any of those. I don't know. I feel like yeah, reject society, return to the goose. I'm gonna put it in the special tier, but I think it's better than these other special tier games. It's just fun. Also, there's like multiplayer in this game too, like local multiplayer, which I didn't realize. They added it in an update later. It'd be fun to do it with someone else. Yeah, I'm gonna put down there. I feel like it deserves its own special place. Now, 2022 was also the year that we did like all the Star Ocean games. Not all of them, but we played Star Ocean 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 came out. It was a very Star Ocean year. Now, I said before that I actually quite like Star Ocean 4. Uh, Star Ocean 4, I think, is, in my opinion, it's one of the better Star Ocean games. Mostly because when you think of Star Ocean, you think of, well, I'm traveling the stars, right? That means that I must be able to visit multiple planets, right? And this is the only Star Ocean game to date that really actually lets you travel between a lot of planets. I like the character designs. The artwork for the characters was nice. And the battle system was fun too. It's unfortunate they don't have a variety of endings to get in this game. Each character only has one ending, but you have to unlock it. But the private actions were a lot easier to do because they always took place aboard the Calnus on your ship. Unlike some of the other, like Star Ocean 3, where the private actions were always like scattered about the game and you had to like backtrack and go find them. Oh, hey, Yul, welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming by. I think I feel comfortable putting here. It's not an A game, but it's like an A- game. Hey, Lork, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. It's good to see you. Now, that being said, going back to Star Ocean 3, this game, and a lot of people have very fond memories of this game. It's an older game. And, like, for its time, it was really good. But going back to it and playing it in 2022, it did not age as well. And I'm not even talking about, like, the graphics. Just the battle system does not feel that comfortable to play now. It's very clunky, and some of the enemies are very cheap. And MP death is such a dumb thing. You die when your MP hits 0, in addition to HP hitting 0. And some enemies attack your MP directly, and some of your characters will just blast and use all their MP and then die. So it's definitely not up here in A. I think it's definitely dropped down to a B tier. But I think out of not like a lot of people would look at this and they've only played Star Ocean 3 back when it first came out on like PS2. They did not played like they did not play the PSN version of this game that is remastered. Going back and playing it was just not as comfy as you would think. So I almost feel like it's more of like a B game now by today's standards. It's just harder to play. But like nostalgia elevates it a little bit. It makes people want to go back to it. Also, the characters are kind of fun. I'm gonna leave it here in B plus. It is not. It's no longer an A game, but it's still like upper B. HRI, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. It's good to see you. I'm having a great day. Star Ocean 5 was just a disappointment. It was really short. Battle system was kind of weird. Having all your party members fight at the same time was both good and bad. What else? It was really short. The story just rehashes a whole bunch of things. I mean, all the Star Ocean games kind of rehash the same story over time, which is a little disappointing. I'm not sure if this goes in a B- or B. It's still playable. It's still completely playable. But yeah, you know what? I think I feel right putting it here. Now, Star Ocean 6 was actually not a bad game at all. It was actually pretty good. But I don't think it didn't reach the same heights as the like Star Ocean 4, I think. Like the battle system's solid, it works. Story just really felt like they were rehashing things all over again. Nothing really new or innovative. Was it better than Shin Megami Tensei 3 though? I would say so, you know what? Because this game actually has like party members. So you can get attached to the characters. While this game, like I said, like the NPCs in this game were not really that interesting. This one, the game, Shin Megami Tensei 3, gets a pass mostly because the battles are really fun and challenging. I'm starting to think maybe I should even drop this one like down to here. But honestly, I think the tactics in this game are still pretty fun. Hey Candice, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. You know what? I feel comfortable with this right now, but I might rearrange it. I'm just thinking maybe this one goes here. I think I might be over-romanticizing how much I remember Shin Megami Tensei 3. Yeah. Oh, Dry, thanks for the stretch. I really appreciate it. Final Fantasy VII Remake was fun. I still think it's still kind of silly. I mean, I understand that they broke it up into multiple games. And honestly, like at first I was kind of pissed about that, but like they're good. Well, I mean, Rebirth isn't out yet, but they're good games. So it's definitely somewhere up here. I don't know where I would put it. I think I kind of enjoyed FF7 more than I like Shin Megami Tensei 5. Because at least it had like a story to it. Not to say SMT5 didn't, but this one's like a little bit more character based than this one, I think. I'm looking forward to Rebirth though. I do like the Persona cast a lot though. Like seeing the story in this one, I think like the story of FF7, this might be a hot take. The story of FF7 was it's good, but it's not astounding. A lot of people, I think, overhype the story because of nostalgia. But, you know, I think that it's an okay story. I think the remake adds more to it and adds more depth to the characters. But it's a little bit overhyped, I think. And I don't know, maybe Rebirth will change my mind. Like, Rebirth looks really good. Maybe it'll completely blow me out of the water and I'll need to completely revamp my entire opinion. Yeah, DMC 5, the reason why I put it down here is, for one thing, it's just really short. If it was a longer game, I think that would be the biggest thing working against it, in my opinion, was it's just short. Crisis Core remake. I was actually pretty disappointed with this one. I think that, I mean, it was a remake, right, of a PSP game. So I wasn't expecting them to completely revamp the entire story. Or not the story, the story also, but also the gameplay. I thought it'd be much better than it was. Especially because it has the FF7 name slapped onto it, and also because, you know, everyone likes Zack. I like Zack, but this game, it just didn't do a great job of, and I'm not saying specifically the remake, I'm just saying like Crisis Core in general, did not do a really good job of like getting me on board with really wanting to get onto the characters and stuff. I wish there was so many opportunities to kind of flesh out the characters more, and they didn't really take that. It was more like a what happened, let us lay out to you the events, and not really delve into like the character-driven aspects of it. Also, like Genesis and Angeal, both of them pretty boring characters, honestly. I almost want to put this, I almost want to put this down here into just a regular B tier. Like, it's playable, it's fine. Battle system, I didn't really like it that much. Is it better than Pokemon Arceus, though? That's a tough one. There is more story to this than Arceus. It's like the thing working for it. You know what, actually, I almost want to bump down Star Ocean 3 to here. It is, again, going back to this game this many years later is not as fun to play as it was back in like the 2010s or whatever it was. Yeah, you know what? I feel okay with this. People who still say Star Ocean 3 is like super, super top tier have not played it since its release. BlazBlue, Calamity Trigger. Fighting game. Not as many people are super familiar with it. I wanted a lot of people to understand BlazBlue because I really like BlazBlue. Now, when BlazBlue first came out, I knew it was from the same people as Guilty Gear, but I didn't hop on the train right away because it had a small cast. It only had like 12 playable characters or something like that, and none of the characters really stuck out to me. And it wasn't until a bunch of my friends were recommending BlazBlue to me that I finally said, you know what, fine, I'll get it and try it out. Because I like fighting games, but if there are no characters that really catch my attention, and also at the time I was really into 3D fighting games like Soul Calibur and Tekken, I had not jumped on board 2D fighting games. I thought, well, why do I want to play a 2D fighting game when I have 3D fighting games? But this really showed me like the possibilities of 2D fighting. This game and Marvel vs. Capcom really showed me the possibilities of 2D fighting. Now, story mode in this game was actually really good. The characters, I actually ended up liking almost every single character in the game because their stories were good and their characters, the voice acting was good, the characters were compelling, story was interesting. I'm going to put it down here for now, only because I know that I'm going to be tier listing Continuum Shift later, and Continuum Shift is definitely better than this game. So this is like BlazBlue in its infancy started out here, and then eventually it's going to raise higher as we go through the other games. Because again, this one has, I think the biggest thing working against this one is just small roster. In a fighting game, roster is everything. And although the characters here are solid, they're well balanced, a lot of my favorite characters in the BlazBlue series do not arrive until later. But there is a story mode in here. Yeah, I do have Sengoku Basara 4. It's up here. It's a fantastic game. Held back by the fact that most people haven't played it because it's Japanese only. But it's so much fun. Yeah, I think I feel comfortable putting BlazBlue down here for now, but it's going to go up as we reach the other BlazBlue games, which we haven't streamed Chrono Phantasma and Central Fiction yet, but I will get to those games eventually. It's just going through those games is, it's not long, but it's like long as in it's repetitive. So to stream it sometimes feels a little bit like a slog. Okay, so 2022, the only things we really have left for 2022 is the Xenoblade games and 999. 999 is a great game. I'm looking forward to, I will be streaming Zero Escape 2 and Zero Escape 3 eventually. I just haven't had time. 999 by itself as a standalone game is good. I think Zero Escape 2 is the best of the three. So it's definitely going to go higher. But this game by itself, like, is actually really good. I think I'm going to put it here because my own problem with 999 is that it is it's a great story, but it's not as character driven. Like, the characters have personalities and stuff, and you do feel for some of the characters, but they're not characters that you get attached to in the same way you get to attach to, like, Great Ace Attorney characters, you know? The puzzles are actually good, and the story completely blows you away. So we'll look forward to doing Zero Escape 2. I think Zero Escape 2 is going to end up being an A tier on its own. But I think 999 as the first game in the series is still an A-. Okay, now here we do the Xenoblade games. And now, Xenoblade is very beloved by people. And I have somewhat strong opinions about some of them. So, I mean, we'll start with Xenoblade 3. Xenoblade 3 was a fantastic game. It was really good. I think I would actually put it... It's either here or it's like here. Honestly, I think actually it might go here. It's a really good game. The battle system's fun, the characters are compelling, the story's interesting. I think there's a little bit of convolution with the story that is unnecessary. Also keep in mind that this is also including Future Redeemed, which was also really fun. And the music was fantastic. So I feel comfortable making it an S tier. I really enjoyed it. That being said, though, I really did not like Xenoblade 2. A lot of people like Xenoblade 2. I did not like Xenoblade 2. In fact, I think I'm going to put it here. Now, the reason why I don't like Xenoblade 2 is, well, the story was... I didn't really like the story. I think it was needlessly convoluted. There was a lot of needless convolution there that just left it with a lot of plot holes. The characters themselves, I didn't really feel that attached to. But I think the biggest thing working against this one was the battle system was just really clunky. You had to auto-attack the enemies to build up your skills. Your skills were always on cooldown when you started the fight. So when you get into the fight, you can't press any buttons until you build up your skills, which later on you can unlock the use of your skills right away, but that was not early in the game. The best way to heal was to hit the enemy with certain skills and make potions fall out of them, and then you had to go pick up the potion. But then the problem with that is that your character in battle walks like the speed of a turtle. They walk slower in battle than they do outside of battle. So you have to go and pick up the potion before it despawns. On top of that, you can't jump. So if the potion lands on a ledge, you can't pick it up. You can jump outside of battle, but you can't jump in battle. Also, when you're going to pick up the potion, it means you're not auto-attacking the enemy, which means you don't build up your skill gauge. It just felt really clumsy. And some of the bosses had like mechanics that were not immediately obvious to you. Like there was that one boss that just keeps splitting in half, and apparently the way I beat it was because if you let it split in half too many times, eventually the game takes pity on you and he just stops splitting. But there was actually supposed to be a way you get him to stop splitting. Also, like the way you do, there's also like a lot of depth to this to the battle system here that was not properly explained in the game, that you actually have to look up guides outside of the game to figure out the best builds for people. Oh yeah, and also, this game has a gacha system. It's a single-player game, and it has a gacha system for getting blades. What kind of single-player game has a gacha mechanic into it? So, yes. Hey, Just Lace, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by, and thank you so much for following me being a Froggy friend. It's good to see you. Yeah. So I did not like Xenoblade 2. Also, the maps in Xenoblade 2 did not have like a quest destination marker, and the maps are complicated that looking at the flat plane of the map did not immediately tell you where to go. So sometimes your map would have a marker and you'd be like, oh, I know how to get there, and you'd walk there and you'd be like, how come there's no destination here? And it ends up that the marker is actually like 10 meters below you underground, and you have to go from an entirely opposite side of the map to get there. But on the flat plane of the map, it still only shows you as that one marker without elevation. So then you're like, well, how do I get it from there, right? Xenoblade 3 and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition fixed this by having like a quest marker line. Xenoblade 2 didn't have that. So Xenoblade 1 is better than Xenoblade 2. And you would think that the second game in the series would be better than the first game in the series, but the reason why this one is better is because we played Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which came out after Xenoblade 2, which is a better version of Xenoblade 1. I still didn't really like the battle system in Xenoblade 1 that much, but it was playable, and it was better than Xenoblade 2. So, was it better than Star Ocean 5? I think it was. Actually, no. No, there were some things in the battles that are kind of weird. Also, you kind of have to play a Shulk, even though you can change your main character, because the Monado, you kind of needed it. Also, there was that future sight thing where it would show you an attack that's about to happen in the future, and then you had like a split second to try to prepare for it, but half the time, there was nothing you could do anyways, because it was like, oh, this attack's going to hit me in 5 seconds, but I don't have anything I can do about that because I don't have any shields or items, or there's no items in this game, so I'm just going to get hit by it anyways, so it just defeated the point. So, it's funny though that despite the fact that I didn't really like Xenoblade 2 that much, and I didn't like Xenoblade 1, like only marginally better, the Xenoblade 3 was so good. Xenoblade 3 basically took everything about the battle system for 1 and 2 that was good about them and combined them together and then fixed everything that was wrong with them. So it's really weird that 3 became so good and then these ones were just so lackluster, I think. I mean, 1, I can't really blame it too much because it's an old game, but 2 was just hard to play. 2 was just hard to play. Was it better than... I don't know, I'm still thinking about whether I want to put it up here. That's a tough one. No, I think Clunky Battle System really held it back. Clunky Battle System really held it back. Oh yeah, and then there's Torna. Torna was actually... Despite the fact that I don't like 2, Torna was fixed a lot of things I didn't like about 2. So it's at least in the B tier. I think it's better than Xenoblade 1. The quality of life in this one introduces is better, and it carries over into Xenoblade 3. And I like the characters in Torna a little bit better. But it's a very short experience. It's not a full game. I think I like it better than Star Ocean 5. Both of them are equally short games. Yeah. The thing is, too, that if you want to fully appreciate the story of Xenoblade 3, you have to have at least a little bit of knowledge of these games. They're unnecessary, though, but it's like if you want to catch all the Easter eggs and small nuances. But then again, playing these 2 games, Xenoblade 1 and 2, I think helped me realize a lot of the plot holes in Xenoblade 3 that I wish I didn't realize. There's a lot of plot holes in 3, but they're not really important if you don't think about them. They don't really mess with you too much. So going into 3 without playing 1 and 2 is almost a good thing. Because it's like, you think about things as like, wait, in Xenoblade 1, they said this, this, and this, but how come that doesn't apply in the world of Xenoblade 3? How does that, break the plot here? So, like, people ask me sometimes, like, do I need to play Xenoblade 1 and 2 to understand and play 3? And I would say, if you want to fully appreciate the plot, yes. If you want to save your sanity, just play 3. Just go straight to 3. It's a really good game. 1 and 2 are not. Hey, Aru. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you for the chaos eye. And we're finished 2022 with that. That's all. This is all the games I played on stream up until the end of 2022 thus far. So this is what they look like so far. I think it's a pretty good distribution of tiers, I think. I feel pretty comfortable with this tier distribution right now. Okay.